Get your dirty hands off that tray. Margaret Miller slaps Maya Peterson's fingers away from the lunch counter. The 7-year-old flinches. But Miss Miller, I'm hungry. Hungry? Margaret's laugh is sharp and cold. Then tell your daddy to actually feed you instead of sending you here like some beggar. Oh, wait. That's what you people do best, isn't it? Maya's eyes fill with tears. Please, I have money in my account. I don't give free food to liars. Margaret rips Maya's lunch card in half and drops the pieces on the floor. Pick that up and get out. You're holding up real students. A white boy steps around Maya and gets his full lunch. Margaret smiles at him sweetly. Maya sits at an empty table, stomach empty again. Have you ever watched a child starve while the people meant to protect her turned away? Julian Peterson pulls into the driveway at 4:30. His black sedan needs a wash. The house is a 2-story colonial in a quiet Seattle suburb where maple trees line the sidewalks and neighbors wave from their porches. He built this life from nothing. Dropped out of community college at 19 to code in his mother's basement. Sold his first software at 23. Founded Peterson Cyber Solutions at 28. Now at 35, his cybersecurity platform protects school districts across 11 states. Forbes called him a self-made millionaire. He drives a 7-year-old Honda. The front door opens before he reaches it. Maya runs out, backpack bouncing against her shoulders. Her school uniform, white polo, navy skirt, hangs looser than it did 3 weeks ago. Hey, baby girl. Julian kneels and wraps her in a hug. Her ribs feel sharper through the thin fabric. How was school? Fine. She doesn't meet his eyes. Inside, Maya drops her backpack by the stairs and heads straight for the kitchen. Julian follows. She opens the pantry, grabs a granola bar, tears the wrapper with her teeth, and devours it in 4 bites. Then she reaches for another. Whoa, slow down. Julian touches her shoulder gently. Didn't you eat lunch? Maya freezes. The second granola bar crinkles in her fist. I forgot. You forgot to eat lunch? I wasn't hungry. Her stomach growls so loudly it echoes off the tile counters. She looks down, embarrassed. Julian's chest tightens. This is the 3rd time this week. He lets it go for now. That night, Maya falls asleep during homework. Her head drops onto her math worksheet, pencils still in hand. Julian carries her to bed. She weighs less than she should. Dark circles shadow her eyes like bruises. He kisses her forehead. She doesn't stir. In his office, Julian opens his laptop and logs into the school's parent portal. Maya's lunch account loads on the screen. Balance, $500. Last transaction, October 8th, 2 weeks ago. His daughter hasn't bought lunch in 14 days. He calls the school the next morning. The receptionist is chipper and unhelpful. Jefferson Elementary. How may I help you? This is Julian Peterson, Maya Peterson's father. I need to speak with someone about her lunch account. Is there a problem with the account, Mr. Peterson? She hasn't used it in 2 weeks. Oh, a pause. Keyboard clicking. Well, the account shows activity. Maybe she's just bringing lunch from home. She's not. Would you like to speak with our cafeteria manager, Mrs. Miller? Yes. 1 moment, please. Hold. Music plays for 3 minutes. The receptionist returns. I'm sorry, Mr. Peterson. Mrs. Miller is very busy right now. Can she call you back? She never does. Friday evening, Julian finds Maya crying in her bedroom. She's curled on her bed, clutching a framed photo of her mother. Sarah died 2 years ago after 18 months of fighting breast cancer. Maya was 5. Baby, what's wrong? Maya shakes her head. Tears stream down her cheeks. She won't talk, won't explain, just keeps whispering. I miss Mommy. Julian holds her until she falls asleep. Her stomach growls against his chest. That night, he sits in his home office, surrounded by 3 monitors. Peterson Cyber Solutions specializes in surveillance systems. He designs software that detects security breaches in real time. He's consulted for the FBI. He knows exactly what he needs. Sunday afternoon, while Maya watches cartoons downstairs, Julian sits at his desk with a small device the size of a shirt button. It's a micro camera he developed for undercover security operations. Records video, captures audio, streams live to encrypted cloud storage. He threads a needle with black thread and carefully sews the camera into the collar of Maya's navy school jacket, the one she wears every day, the one she hangs on the back of her chair during lunch. The stitching is invisible. The camera lens blends perfectly with the button's design. He tests it. The feed loads on his phone. Crystal clear wide-angle view. Perfect sound quality. Monday morning, Julian helps Maya into her jacket. His hands shake slightly as he zips it up. "Daddy?" Maya looks up at him with those big brown eyes. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, baby." He kisses the top of her head. "Remember, you can always tell me anything. Always. No matter what." She nods, but her expression says she doesn't believe it. He watches her climb onto the school bus. The doors close, the bus pulls away. Julian gets in his car and drives to his office. He doesn't know what he'll find, but he's about to discover the truth. Julian sits in his corner office on the 23rd floor. Outside, Seattle's skyline stretches beneath a gray November sky. Inside, his phone rests face up on the mahogany desk. 11:47 lunch period starts in 3 minutes. His calendar shows back-to-back meetings, a conference call with the Seattle School District, a product demo for potential investors, an interview with TechCrunch about his company's latest software update. He cancels everything. The phone screen lights up, camera feed activating. Julian taps the notification, and the cafeteria appears in real time. Kids flood through double doors, their voices echoing off cinder block walls. The smell of institutional food practically radiates through the screen. Overcooked vegetables, processed cheese, bleach. Maya enters the frame. She hangs her jacket on her chair, picks up a tray, and joins the lunch line. Julian's jaw clenches. His thumb hovers over the record button. He presses it. Maya shuffles forward in line. A blonde girl in front of her gets spaghetti, a bread roll, chocolate milk, and an apple. The lunch lady, Margaret Miller, according to her name tag, smiles warmly. "There you go, sweetie. Enjoy." The blonde girl walks away. Maya steps up to the counter. She's so small, her eyes barely clear the sneeze guard. Margaret's smile disappears like someone flipped a switch. "Oh, you again." Maya's voice is barely audible. "Hi, Miss Miller. Can I have lunch, please?" "Can you have lunch?" Margaret's laugh has sharp edges. "Do you have money for lunch?" "Yes, ma'am. My daddy put money in my account." "Your daddy?" Margaret leans over the counter. The camera catches every detail. The sneer on her lips, the contempt in her eyes. "Let me tell you something, little girl. I don't care what your account says. Do you know how many of you people try to scam this system every single day?" Maya's hands grip the tray until her knuckles go pale. "I'm not scamming. I just want—" "What you want and what you get are 2 different things." Margaret glances left and right. 2 other cafeteria workers stand nearby, but they're busy restocking napkins. No teachers in sight. Your kind always wants something for nothing, always expecting handouts. But I'm hungry. Then maybe your daddy should pack you a lunch instead of expecting hard-working white taxpayers to feed you for free. Julian's hand squeezes his phone so hard the case cracks. Maya's eyes fill with tears. "Please, Miss Miller. My tummy really hurts. Not my problem." Margaret waves her hand dismissively. "Go sit down. You're holding up the line, but I said go." Maya doesn't move. A tear rolls down her cheek and drips onto her empty tray. Behind her, a white boy with red hair shifts impatiently. Margaret sees him, and her expression transforms instantly. Sunshine and warmth flood back into her face. "Come on up, honey. Don't worry about her. Some people just don't understand how things work." The boy steps around Maya. Margaret loads his tray with extra fries and 2 cookies. Maya stands frozen for 5 more seconds. Then she turns and walks to an empty table in the corner. She sits, places her empty tray in front of her, stares at it. Around her, 70 children eat and laugh and talk. Maya sits in silence, stomach empty, spirit breaking. The camera feed continues for 38 minutes. Maya doesn't move, doesn't speak, just sits there with nothing while everyone else eats. Julian watches every second. His vision blurs with rage and tears. His daughter, his baby girl, being starved and humiliated because of the color of her skin. He saves the footage, timestamps it, files it in an encrypted folder labeled Evidence Day 1. Then he does something that breaks his heart. He doesn't pull Maya out of school. Not yet. Because he knows the system, knows how it protects its own. One incident won't be enough. They'll call it a misunderstanding, an isolated event. They'll say Maya misheard or misunderstood. He needs a pattern. He needs irrefutable proof that this isn't an accident. He needs to let his daughter suffer a little longer to save other children from suffering forever. Tuesday, 11:49. Maya approaches the lunch counter. A different configuration of kids. Same Margaret Miller behind the glass. "Didn't I tell you yesterday? Margaret doesn't even let Maya speak. No free lunches. I don't care how much you cry or beg. I have money. You have nothing." Margaret's voice rises just enough to make nearby kids turn and stare. "You know what your problem is? You people think the world owes you something. Well, I've got news for you. It doesn't. My tax dollars don't exist to feed every little—" She stops herself, glances around, lowers her voice. "Get out of my line before I call the principal." Maya's lip trembles. What did I do wrong? What did you do wrong? Margaret laughs cold and cruel. "You were born thinking you deserved the same as everyone else. That's your mistake, sweetheart." Day 3. Wednesday. Maya brings a handwritten note from Julian on Peterson Cyber Solutions letterhead, confirming her lunch account status and requesting she be fed. Margaret reads it without expression. Then, maintaining eye contact with Maya, she tears it into confetti-sized pieces and drops them on the counter. I don't take orders from street thugs playing businessmen. She turns her back on Maya and serves the next student. Day 4. Thursday. Margaret changes tactics. When Maya reaches the counter, she holds up one hand. "Empty your pockets." "What?" "You heard me. Empty your pockets. All of them." "Why?" "Because I think you're stealing food and I'm going to prove it." Margaret snaps her fingers. "Pockets now, or I'm calling security." Maya, terrified, pulls out her pockets. A tissue. A hair tie. 47 cents in change. Backpack too. Maya hands over her small backpack. Margaret dumps the contents onto the counter in front of 30 watching students. Notebooks spill out. Pencils scatter. A worn copy of Charlotte's Web lands face down. Margaret paws through everything with theatrical disgust. She finds nothing. Guess you haven't stolen anything yet." She shoves everything back towards Maya. "But I'll be watching you. Your kind can't help yourselves." Maya gathers her belongings with shaking hands. No lunch again. Day 5. Friday. Maya enters the cafeteria looking hollowed out. She's lost weight. Dark circles shadow her eyes. She moves slowly, like walking through water. She gets in line anyway. Hope or desperation or hunger. Julian can't tell which. Margaret sees her coming, shakes her head slowly, mockingly. When Maya reaches the counter, she doesn't even ask for food. She just stands there, tray extended, eyes downcast. Please. One word, barely a whisper. Margaret leans close. The camera picks up every syllable. You know what I see when I look at you? I see a little girl who needs to learn her place, and your place is not at my counter eating food that real American children should be eating. Do you understand? Maya nods, tears streaming. Good. Now get out of here before I make you regret wasting my time. Margaret physically turns Maya around by her shoulders, hands gripping tight enough to leave marks, and pushes her toward the tables. Maya stumbles, catches herself, walks to her corner seat. Julian stops the recording. 5 days, 12 denials, 23 racist statements, 4 instances of physical contact. He has everything he needs. Friday evening, Maya comes home and collapses on the couch. Julian makes her favorite dinner, mac and cheese with chicken nuggets. She eats 3 full plates. Then she throws up because her shrunken stomach can't handle the volume. Julian holds her hair back while she cries over the toilet. I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry I'm broken. You're not broken, baby. You're perfect. And Daddy's going to fix this. That night, while Maya sleeps, Julian sits at his computer and compiles the evidence. 5 days of footage. Every racist comment, every denial, every humiliation. He creates a timeline, adds medical documentation of Maya's weight loss, includes screenshots of her lunch account showing $500 untouched. Then he writes an email to Principal Arthur Vance. Professional, calm, devastating. Subject: formal complaint, racial discrimination, and child endangerment. He attaches a 30-second video clip, just enough to prove he's serious. He hovers over the send button. Monday morning, he'll go to school. He'll sit across from the principal. He'll be reasonable. And if they don't listen, then they'll learn who Julian Peterson really is. Monday morning, 8:15. Julian walks through the front doors of Jefferson Elementary wearing a charcoal suit and carrying a leather portfolio. The hallways smell like floor wax and poster paint. Construction paper turkeys decorate bulletin boards. Student artwork lines the walls. Everything looks so normal, so safe. The receptionist looks up from her desk and smiles. Can I help you? I have an 8:30 appointment with Principal Vance, Julian Peterson. Her smile falters for just a second. She's heard the name. Of course. Let me let him know you're here. She picks up the phone, whispers something Julian can't hear, hangs up. He'll be right with you. Please have a seat. Julian remains standing. 2 minutes later, Principal Arthur Vance appears. He's 50-some with silver hair, wire-rimmed glasses, and a handshake that tries too hard to be firm. Mr. Peterson, good to meet you. Please come to my office. Vance's office has motivational posters on every wall. Believe in yourself. Dream big. Every child matters. A photo of Vance with the mayor sits on his desk next to one of him coaching youth basketball. They sit. Vance folds his hands on his desk and arranges his face into concerned professionalism. So, your email mentions some concerns about Maya's lunch experience. My daughter hasn't been fed lunch in 3 weeks. Julian keeps his voice level despite having $500 in her prepaid account. That seems very unlikely, Mr. Peterson. Our cafeteria program serves over 400 students daily without incident. I have video evidence. Vance's expression flickers. Video evidence? Julian opens his portfolio and slides a tablet across the desk. The screen shows Margaret Miller's face frozen mid-sneer. Would you like to watch? Vance doesn't touch the tablet. Mr. Peterson, I need to be very clear about something. Mrs. Margaret Miller has worked at this school for 15 years. She's a dedicated professional, respected, trusted. She called my daughter, you people, 12 times in 5 days. I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. She physically pushed my 7-year-old daughter. Vance's jaw tightens. That's a very serious accusation. Before I can review any materials, I need to consult with the school board's legal counsel. District policy requires… How long? I'm sorry. How long does district policy require my daughter to starve while you consult attorneys? Vance leans back in his chair. His tone shifts, still polite, but with an edge underneath. Mr. Peterson, I understand you're upset, but making inflammatory accusations against staff can have serious consequences for everyone involved. I'd hate for this to affect Maya's experience here at Jefferson. The threat hangs in the air between them. Julian stands slowly. I'll expect to hear from you within 48 hours. We'll do our best. These investigations take time. My daughter doesn't have time. She's losing weight. She's developing malnutrition. Every day you delay is another day of child abuse. Vance stands too. I think we're done here, Mr. Peterson. I'll be in touch. Julian walks out. The tablet stays on Vance's desk, unwatched. In the parking lot, Julian sits in his car and grips the steering wheel until his knuckles turn white. He saw it in Vance's eyes. The principal has already decided who he believes, and it isn't Maya. That same day, 11:52, Julian watches the cafeteria feed from his office. Someone warned Margaret. She knows about the complaint. When Maya approaches the counter, Margaret's face twists with vindictive rage. Well, your daddy thinks he can come in here making threats. Her voice carries across the cafeteria. Kids, stop talking. Let me tell you something, little girl. People like him don't scare people like me. Maya stands frozen, tray in hand. This is our school, our country. You're just visiting, and visitors don't make demands. Margaret points towards the exit. You're banned from my cafeteria, effective immediately. You want food? Bring it from home or starve. I don't care which. Maya's mouth opens, but no sound comes out. Did I stutter? Get out of my line. Maya runs. The camera catches her stumbling through the cafeteria doors, empty tray abandoned on a table. Julian's phone nearly cracks in his grip. He makes 4 calls in the next 10 minutes. First, Dr. Evelyn Reed, superintendent of Seattle Public Schools. Her assistant says she's unavailable. Julian leaves a detailed message. She doesn't call back. Second, Washington Department of Education, Civil Rights Division. They take his information, open a case file, informing him investigations typically take 90 to 120 days. My daughter is being starved right now. We understand your frustration, sir. We'll work as quickly as possible. Third, FBI Civil Rights Division, Seattle Field Office. The agent who answers is polite but non-committal. We generally need evidence of a broader pattern of civil rights violations before we can open an investigation. How many children need to be abused before it becomes a pattern? Send us everything you have. We'll review it. Fourth, David Sterling, attorney and longtime friend from Julian's college days. David answers on the second ring. Julian, what's wrong? You sound I need a lawyer. I need the best civil rights attorney you know. What happened? Julian tells him everything. David listens without interrupting. Send me the footage. All of it. I know someone. She's going to want to take this case. How long until we can file? We can have a federal complaint ready in a week, but Julian, you need to prepare yourself. These cases take months, sometimes years. Maya doesn't have months, I know, but if we move too fast, we give them ammunition to dismiss this as emotional overreaction. We need to be surgical, precise. We need documentation, medical records, witness statements. I have video of her being called racial slurs and denied food for 3 weeks. That's a start. Get Maya to a doctor. Document the weight loss. I'll start building the case. That night, Julian takes Maya to their family physician. Dr. Helena Foster has treated Maya since she was 3. She weighs Maya, checks her vitals, reviews her chart from 3 weeks ago. She's lost 6 lbs. Dr. Foster's expression is grave. That's significant for a child her size. She's showing signs of malnutrition, brittle hair, dry skin, low energy. Can you document that? Of course. But Julian, what's going on? He tells her, shows her 30 seconds of footage. Dr. Foster's hands shake as she watches. That woman should be in jail, working on it. Dr. Foster writes a detailed medical report. Malnutrition due to systemic denial of food, psychological trauma, weight loss trajectory indicating prolonged starvation. If this continues another 2 weeks, we're looking at hospitalization. Julian files the report with his growing folder of evidence. Tuesday morning, Julian calls Superintendent Reed's office every hour. She's always in a meeting, always unavailable. He sends her the video footage via certified email. She responds 6 hours later with a 2-sentence message. We are reviewing your complaint through proper channels. Please allow 30 to 60 days for our internal investigation to conclude. Julian replies immediately. My daughter is being starved. Every day you delay is another count of child endangerment. No response. Wednesday. Julian digs deeper into Margaret Miller's background. What he finds makes his blood run cold. Margaret has 3 formal complaints in her personnel file from the past 15 years, all from families of color, all dismissed as misunderstandings or personality conflicts. 1 complaint from 2015. Mrs. Miller told my son he should go back to Mexico. He was born in Seattle. Response from Principal Vance. Mrs. Miller denies this. No witnesses. Case closed. Another from 2018. Mrs. Miller refused to serve my daughter for a week. Called her one of those kids. Response. Mrs. Miller explained she was enforcing lunch account policies. No discrimination found. A third from 2021. Mrs. Miller made my child cry every day, said she didn't belong here. Response. Child is overly sensitive. Mrs. Miller's job is stressful. No action warranted. 15 years of complaints. 15 years of protection. Julian keeps digging. Margaret Miller's sister-in-law, Beatrice Vance, sits on the school board. Beatrice and Principal Arthur Vance attend the same church. Their children play on the same soccer team. The system isn't broken. It's designed exactly as intended. Thursday, the temperature drops and rain hammers Seattle. Maya wears her jacket to lunch. The cafeteria is packed. 90 students instead of the usual 70. Indoor recess due to weather. Maya, desperate and shaking with hunger, approaches the fruit bowl near the cafeteria entrance. Free fruit available to all students. Apples, oranges, bananas. She reaches for an apple. Margaret sees her from across the room. Her voice cuts through the noise like a siren. Thief, stop right there. Every head turns. 90 students, 4 teachers, 2 cafeteria workers. Margaret charges around the counter and grabs Maya's wrist hard. The camera captures the white of Margaret's knuckles, the way Maya's face contorts in pain. I knew it. You people can't help yourselves, can you? Always stealing. It's free fruit. Maya's voice breaks. Everyone can take, not you. You were banned. Margaret drags Maya toward the principal's office by her wrist. Maya stumbles, trying to keep up. The apple falls and rolls under a table. Someone call security. We have a thief. In the principal's office, Margaret files a formal incident report. She claims Maya attempted to steal food, describes her as aggressive and defiant, demands suspension. Principal Vance, without interviewing Maya, sends her home with a disciplinary notice. Julian gets the call at 2:15. Mr. Peterson, this is Principal Vance. I'm afraid Maya has been involved in an incident. She attempted to steal food from the cafeteria and became disruptive when confronted. We're sending her home for the rest of the day pending a disciplinary hearing. She tried to take free fruit. That's not Mrs. Miller's account of the incident. I have video. We'll discuss this at the hearing. Friday morning, 8 a.m. I suggest you bring Maya and a willingness to discuss her behavioral issues. Vance hangs up. 30 minutes later, Julian receives a certified letter via email. Margaret Miller, through her attorney, has filed for a restraining order against Julian Peterson for harassment, intimidation, and threatening behavior. They're not just protecting her anymore. They're coming after him. That night, Julian doesn't sleep. He sits in his office surrounded by monitors, compiling 18 hours of footage into a devastating timeline. Every racist comment, every denial, every moment of cruelty. He documents Maya's medical decline, her weight loss, her fear. He pulls his company's contract with Seattle Public Schools, $3 million annually for cybersecurity services, renewable every 2 years, up for renewal in 6 weeks. He makes a list of media contacts, local news, national outlets, civil rights organizations, and he makes a decision. Tomorrow they'll try to discipline his daughter for being hungry. Tomorrow he's going to war. Friday morning, 6 a.m. Julian sits in the KTV studio, across from investigative reporter Clarissa Thorne. She's won 3 Emmys for exposing corruption. Mr. Peterson, we've reviewed your footage. This is explosive. Can you run it? We're running it this morning. 6:30 segment. Clarissa leans forward. Are you prepared for what comes next? My daughter has been starved for 3 weeks while the system protected her abuser. I'm ready. 6:28 a.m. Seattle wakes up to the morning news. We begin with an exclusive investigation into racial discrimination at a local elementary school. The screen shows Clarissa outside Jefferson Elementary. Inside this building, 7-year-old Maya Peterson was denied lunch for 3 weeks, despite having a fully funded account. Her father documented everything. The footage plays. Margaret Miller's voice fills living rooms across the city. People like you need to learn that you don't get handouts. Your kind always wants something for nothing. The clip shows Margaret grabbing Maya's wrist. The child's cry echoes. Clarissa's voice returns. But here's what the school didn't know. The screen shows Julian in his corner office, Seattle's skyline behind him. Julian Peterson is CEO of Peterson Cyber Solutions, a cybersecurity company valued at $50 million. His software protects school districts in 11 states, including Seattle. Cut to Peterson headquarters. Peterson holds a $3 million annual contract with Seattle Public Schools, up for renewal in 6 weeks. Back to the studio. Mr. Peterson, why didn't you reveal your identity immediately? Because my daughter's worth shouldn't depend on my bank account. Every child deserves to eat. Whether their father is a CEO or drives a bus, they only care now because they know who I am. That proves the system is broken. By 7 a.m., the story explodes. Local news, regional coverage, trending on social media. Dr. Justice for Maya, 2 million views in 3 hours. 8:15 a.m. Julian's phone erupts. Reporters, attorneys, civil rights groups, parents sharing their stories. Text from David. Federal prosecutors just called. Text from Dr. Reed's office. Superintendent requests emergency meeting. Julian ignores both. 8:30 a.m. Emergency school board meeting. Reporters pack the hallway. Inside, Superintendent Reed and the board face reality. Peterson Cyber Solutions' $3 million contract funds their entire cybersecurity infrastructure, student data, financial systems, everything. Without it, they're exposed to lawsuits, data breaches, federal violations. Board member Beatrice Vance tries to defend Margaret. She's been dedicated for 15 years. Another board member cuts her off. She's a liability. We need damage control. It's past that. Someone says the FBI called an hour ago. 9 a.m. Margaret Miller arrives at school. News cameras swarm. Mrs. Miller, did you deny Maya Peterson food because of her race? This is ridiculous. Margaret's voice shakes. That man is lying, playing the race card for special treatment. I've worked here for 15 years. A reporter holds up a phone. We have video of you calling a 7-year-old racial slurs. That footage is illegal. Washington is a two-party consent state, Mrs. Miller." Her face drains white. Superintendent Reed appears with security. "Margaret Miller, you are suspended without pay effective immediately. You can't do this. We can and we are. Leave the premises." Security escorts her out. She's crying, screaming about unfairness. Cameras capture everything. 10 Telefon, AM. FBI Special Agent James Wilson arrives at the district office. Federal investigation opened. Civil rights violations, child endangerment, conspiracy to deprive rights. This isn't just about Margaret anymore. 11 AM. Investigators pull Margaret's personnel file. 8 previous complaints, all from families of color, all dismissed by Principal Vance, all approved by Superintendent Reed. The pattern is undeniable. Text messages surface between Margaret and other staff. Racist jokes, memes, complaints about those people trying to abuse the system. Email from Principal Vance to Margaret dated 2 weeks ago. "Just received a complaint from Peterson father. Be more careful about who's watching. We'll handle it." The cover-up is documented. Noon. Julian sits in his office watching news coverage. David calls. "Julian, they found everything. 8 complaints, 15 children. Vance and Reed were protecting her for years." "How many children, David?" "At least 15 we know of. Maybe more." Maya walks in. She's been home eating regular meals, looking better already. "Daddy, are people mad at me?" Julian pulls her onto his lap. "No, baby. People are making sure this never happens again. Because of me? Because you were brave, even when it hurt." She hugs him tight. 1 p.m., Principal Arthur Vance receives notification. Suspended pending investigation. Superintendent Evelyn Reed called before the school board. Forced to resign or face termination. Margaret Miller's attorney calls Julian's attorney. She wants to apologize, avoid prosecution. David asks Julian if he'll meet with her. Set it up. I want to hear what she has to say. Thursday afternoon, 3 days after the news broke, Julian sits in a conference room at David's law firm. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook downtown Seattle. Rain streaks the glass. David sits to his left. 2 other attorneys flank them. A court reporter sets up in the corner. Across the table sits Margaret Miller and her attorney Kenneth Brown. Margaret looks broken. Unwashed hair, dark circles under her eyes, hands shaking as she clutches a tissue. "Mr. Peterson," Kenneth begins. "My client wanted this opportunity to let her speak." Julian's voice is flat. She wanted to apologize. "I'm listening." Margaret looks up. Her eyes are red. "Mr. Peterson, I'm so sorry." Her voice cracks. "I didn't mean those things. I was stressed. The job is hard. I made mistakes." "Mistakes?" Julian doesn't blink. "You called my daughter 'you people' 23 times. You denied her food for 3 weeks. You grabbed her hard enough to leave bruises. What part was a mistake? I didn't know who you were." Julian leans forward. "Stop." Margaret's mouth closes. "Would it have mattered if I was poor? If I drove a bus instead of running a company?" His voice stays quiet, but cuts deep. "Would my daughter's hunger matter then?" Silence. Rain taps against windows. "Answer me, Margaret. If I was nobody, would Maya still deserve to eat?" Margaret stares at the table, tears streaming down her face. She doesn't answer. "That's what I thought." Julian stands. "You don't apologize for what you did. You apologize for getting caught. We're done here." He walks out. Behind him, Margaret's sobs echo in the empty room. Friday morning, Seattle Public Schools holds a press conference. Superintendent Dr. Evelyn Reed stands at a podium flanked by school board members. Cameras flash. "After thorough investigation, we have taken decisive action." Her voice is stiff. Rehearsed. Margaret Miller has been terminated for cause, effective immediately. No severance. Pension benefits under review. A reporter shouts, "Why was she protected for 15 years?" Reed ignores it. Principal Arthur Vance has been suspended pending investigation. We expect his termination within the week. What about your role, Dr. Reed? Another reporter. You signed off on dismissing 8 complaints. Reed's jaw tightens. I have submitted my resignation effective in 30 days. The room erupts with questions. Reed steps away without answering. That afternoon, Margaret Miller was arrested. The charges scroll across television screens. 15 counts of child endangerment, 23 counts of civil rights violations, 1 count of assault, conspiracy to deprive constitutional rights. Bail set at $50,000. Her sister-in-law posts it within an hour. Margaret leaves the courthouse in handcuffs. Protesters line the street. Signs read, "Protect all children," and "Racism has consequences." Someone throws an egg. It hits the police car window and slides down in a yellow streak. Monday morning, Seattle Public Schools announces institutional changes. Complete audit of all cafeterias across the district. Mandatory racial bias training for every employee. Anonymous complaint system with third-party oversight. Independent review board for discrimination claims. Camera systems in all cafeterias. Settlement offer to the Peterson family, $100,000. David brings the offer to Julian. It's a starting point. We can negotiate higher. Julian stares at the number. What does Maya need? Therapy, medical monitoring, educational support. Then give the rest away. David, you could get millions. I don't want their money. I want the system fixed. Julian signs the agreement. Every dollar over Maya's care goes to food programs and legal defense funds for families who can't afford to fight. David nods slowly. You're a better man than me. I'm just a father who got lucky. Most parents don't have video evidence and money for lawyers. They need help. The settlement finalizes within a week. Maya receives therapy and medical care. The remaining $92,000 funds emergency food programs for Seattle students, a legal defense fund for families facing discrimination, and scholarships for children of color in underserved schools. Margaret Miller learns she faces 18 months in prison. Principal Vance loses his education license permanently. Superintendent Reed is barred from education administration in Washington. The system that protected them for 15 years finally cracks. But Julian knows this isn't enough. Justice delayed isn't justice. Real change requires consequences that hurt. And those consequences are just beginning. 3 months later, King County Courthouse stands downtown. All marble columns and American flags. News vans line the street. Protesters gather on the steps holding signs. Justice for Maya. Feed all children. Racism is a crime. Inside courtroom 4C, the trial of Margaret Miller begins. The gallery is packed. Parents, activists, reporters, school board members were forced to attend. Julian sits in the front row beside David. Maya stays home with a counselor, too young to witness this despite being the reason for it. Judge Eleanor Wright enters. She's a black woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes that miss nothing. All rise. Everyone stands. The State of Washington versus Margaret Marie Miller, case number 2024, CR 15847. Margaret sits at the defense table in a conservative gray suit. Her attorney, Kenneth Brown, whispers something. She nods but looks ready to shatter. The prosecutor, District Attorney Michael Rodriguez, stands. Your Honor, the state will prove that the defendant engaged in a systematic pattern of racial discrimination, child endangerment, and civil rights violations against a 7-year-old child over a 3-week period. He clicks a remote. The courtroom's screen illuminates. Maya's face appears, smiling from a photo taken before this began. Maya Peterson is a straight A student. She loves reading. She wants to be a scientist when she grows up. Click. The cafeteria footage plays. Margaret's voice fills the courtroom. People like you need to learn you don't get handouts. Several jurors visibly react. One woman's hand covers her mouth. The video continues. 3 weeks condensed into 12 devastating minutes. Your kind always wants something for nothing. This is our country. You're just visiting. You people can't help yourselves. The final clip shows Margaret grabbing Maya's wrist. The child's cry of pain echoes off the courtroom walls. 2 jurors are crying. Rodriguez lets the silence sit heavy before continuing. The defendant didn't just deny a child food. She weaponized her position of authority to inflict psychological torture based solely on race. For 21 days, Maya Peterson went hungry while other children ate. For 21 days, she was told she didn't deserve basic human dignity. He pauses. The defense will claim stress, misunderstanding, regrettable comments. But you've seen the evidence. This wasn't a mistake. This was deliberate, repeated, racist. Day 3 of the trial. The prosecution calls Dr. Helena Foster. Dr. Foster, what was Maya's physical condition when you examined her on November 10th? She had lost 6 lbs in 3 weeks. For a child her size, that's critical. She showed signs of malnutrition, brittle hair, dry skin, lethargy. Her body was shutting down non-essential functions to preserve energy. What would have happened if this continued? Another week or 2? Hospitalization, potential organ damage. Children can die from malnutrition, Mr. Rodriguez. Maya was heading in that direction. The courtroom stills. Kenneth Brown cross-examines. Dr. Foster, isn't it possible Maya simply wasn't eating at home? Her father brought her in. I saw their kitchen fully stocked. I saw Maya eat a full meal in my office. The child was starving at school, not at home. But you can't prove. I can prove a healthy child became malnourished over 3 weeks. The timeline matches exactly with the defendant's denial of lunch. The causation is clear. Day 5. Maya testifies via closed-circuit video. The judge ruled it necessary to protect her from trauma. The screen shows Maya in a child-friendly room with soft lighting and comfortable chairs. A victim advocate sits beside her. Rodriguez's voice is gentle. Maya, can you tell us what happened at lunch? Maya's voice is small but steady. Miss Miller wouldn't let me eat. Every day I asked. Every day she said no. Did she say why? She said people like me don't deserve food. She said I was lying about having money. She said, Maya's voice wavers. She said people like me should know our place. How did that make you feel? I thought I did something wrong. I thought maybe she was right. Maybe I didn't deserve lunch like the other kids. Tears streamed down Maya's face. I was so hungry. My tummy hurt all the time. I cried every night. I missed my mommy. I just wanted lunch. 3 jurors openly cry now. One man wipes his eyes with a handkerchief. Margaret stares at the table, doesn't look at the screen. Kenneth Brown waives cross-examination. Even he won't question a traumatized child on camera. Day 7. Julian takes the stand. Rodriguez asks him to describe the moment he first watched the cafeteria footage. I sat in my office and watched my daughter, a straight A student, a kind soul who's already lost her mother, be told she was worthless because of her skin color. Julian's voice is controlled, but pain bleeds through. I watched her beg for food. I watched her cry. I watched other children eat while she starved. Why didn't you pull her from school immediately? Because Margaret Miller had been doing this for 15 years. 8 other families filed complaints. The system dismissed every single one. If I pulled Maya after one day, they'd call it an isolated incident, a misunderstanding. Julian looks directly at the jury. I let my daughter suffer so no other child would ever have to. That decision haunts me, but it was necessary. What do you want the jury to know about your daughter? Maya is 7 years old. She's brilliant, funny, compassionate. She wants to cure cancer like the doctors tried to cure her mother. And Margaret Miller tried to break her, tried to teach my baby that she's less than human because she's black. His voice cracks. That evil is unforgivable. And our system protected that evil for 15 years. The courtroom is silent except for muffled crying. Kenneth Brown attempts a defense. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Miller is a hardworking woman who made regrettable comments under stress. She never intended harm. She's devoted 15 years to feeding children, Rodriguez objects. Feeding white children, Your Honor. The evidence shows a clear racial pattern. Sustained. Brown tries another angle. This has destroyed Mrs. Miller's life. She's lost her job, her reputation, her future. Hasn't she suffered enough? Julian's jaw clenches. Suffered enough. Maya nearly died. Day 8. Closing arguments. Rodriguez faces the jury. The defendant had power over a hungry child and used that power to inflict cruelty. She did it knowingly, repeatedly, proudly. The video doesn't lie. Her own words condemn her. He points at Margaret. She chose to starve a 7-year-old because of racism. That choice has consequences. The jury deliberates for 90 minutes. They return. On all counts, we find the defendant guilty. Margaret collapses, sobbing. Her attorney catches her. The gallery erupts in applause. Judge Wright's gavel cracks like thunder. Order. Sentencing is scheduled for 2 weeks. Julian walks out of the courthouse into camera flashes and shouted questions. He says nothing. Justice spoke for itself. 2 weeks later, sentencing day. Judge Eleanor Wright sits elevated above the courtroom, reading from Margaret Miller's pre-sentence report. The gallery is packed again, every seat filled. Margaret stands between her attorneys, hands clasped in front of her. She's aged 10 years and 3 months. Judge Wright looks up. Mrs. Miller, you were entrusted with the care of children, the most vulnerable among us. You weaponized that trust to inflict psychological torture on a 7-year-old child because of her race. Margaret's attorney starts to speak. The judge raises one hand. I've read your letters of support, your claims of stress and regret, but I've also watched 18 hours of footage showing calculated, repeated cruelty. This wasn't a mistake, Mrs. Miller. This was a choice you made every single day for 3 weeks. Judge Wright's voice hardens. Margaret Marie Miller, I hereby sentence you to 18 months in county jail, followed by 5 years probation. You will complete 500 hours of community service at food banks serving underprivileged communities. You will pay a $50,000 fine to be distributed to anti-hunger programs. You are permanently banned from working with children in any capacity, and you will complete mandatory counseling for racial bias. Margaret sobs. Her attorney supports her weight. Furthermore, Judge Wright continues, I am recommending your case be used in educational training programs as an example of how racism manifests in institutional settings. Perhaps future educators will learn from your failures. The gavel falls. Margaret is led away in handcuffs. That same afternoon, Principal Arthur Vance receives his sentence in a separate hearing. 6 months in jail, suspended pending 3 years probation, loss of education license permanently, $25,000 fine, barred from any educational administration role. Superintendent Evelyn Reed faces civil penalties, but no jail time. She's permanently barred from education administration in Washington. The school board voted to withhold her pension benefits. The message is clear. The system that enabled racism will be dismantled. 6 months after sentencing, Maya Peterson sits in her new school's cafeteria. Bright murals cover the walls. Sunlight streams through large windows. She picks up her lunch tray, chicken, vegetables, fruit, milk, and walks to a table where 3 friends wait. They're discussing their science project. Maya eats, laughs, belongs. No one questions her right to be there. Julian watches from the doorway during Parent Volunteer Day. His daughter is thriving. Healthy weight, bright eyes, that spark of joy returning day by day. But she's changed, too. Stronger. More aware. Last week, Maya stood up during a school assembly and talked about her experience. 70 students listened as she explained what hunger felt like, what racism sounded like, why speaking up matters. She's 8 years old and already an advocate. That evening, Julian sits in his home office working on his new initiative. Peterson Cyber Solutions launched No Child Hungry, a comprehensive program providing free lunch monitoring software to school districts nationwide. The AI-powered system detects patterns of discrimination, flags unusual denial rates, and creates transparent reporting mechanisms. 500 school districts have adopted it completely free, funded entirely by Peterson profits. The software has already identified 12 cases similar to Maya's. 12 children saved from what his daughter endured. Julian's testimony before Congress last month led to new federal protections. Maya's law is being introduced in 12 states, mandatory reporting of lunch denials, third-party oversight of cafeteria programs, and severe penalties for discrimination. Margaret Miller's case became a watershed moment. National conversation about racism in schools, policy reforms, accountability, one hidden camera, one father who refused silence, one little girl's courage. That's all it took to change the system. Maya walks into his office holding a notebook. "Daddy, I finished the first chapter. She's writing a book with his help. The Girl Who Was Hungry, a story about speaking up. Child-friendly, honest, powerful. 10 publishers want it. The advance will fund scholarships for 100 children of color. I'm proud of you, baby girl. I'm proud of us." She hugs him. "We helped people, right?" "We did. And we're going to keep helping because this isn't over. Somewhere right now, another child is being denied dignity. Another Margaret Miller is using power to inflict pain. Another system is protecting the guilty instead of the innocent. But now those children have a roadmap. They have proof that speaking up works, that documentation matters, that even the powerless can hold the powerful accountable." Julian looks at the camera. At you. If you're watching this, you need to ask yourself, what would you do if you saw a child being denied food, being called slurs, being harmed? Would you speak up? Would you document it? Would you fight? Or would you look away because it's uncomfortable, because it's not your problem, because you don't want trouble? Margaret Miller counted on people looking away. She got away with this for 15 years because good people stayed silent. Don't be silent. Share this story. Let people know this still happens. Comment below. Have you witnessed discrimination in schools? What did you do? Subscribe if you believe every child deserves dignity and food regardless of skin color. Follow for more stories of injustice meeting accountability. And remember, one person refusing to be silent can change everything. How many children are being denied food in schools right now while administrators look away? What are you going to do about it? Margaret got 18 months in jail. Maya's eating lunch again. Justice, right? But here's the part that keeps me awake at night. Maya Peterson was starved for 3 weeks, lost 6 pounds, nearly hospitalized, all because a cafeteria manager looked at a 7-year-old child and decided she didn't deserve food. Margaret Miller did this for 15 years. 8 families complained before Julian. Every single complaint was dismissed. The only reason Maya got justice? Her father had money for lawyers, had the tech skills to hide a camera, had a $3 million contract that made the school district listen. What about the other 15 children Margaret starved? The ones whose parents couldn't afford attorneys, couldn't take time off work for court, Didn't know how to document evidence? They suffered in silence, and the system protected their abuser instead of them. Think about this. How many Mayas are sitting in school cafeterias right now, hungry, humiliated, too scared to tell their parents because they think it's their fault? Maya only got justice because her dad was rich enough to force them to care. That's not the justice system. That's a lottery. And most kids lose. Share this if you believe every child deserves to eat, not just the ones with wealthy parents. Subscribe to Black Sage for stories where documentation meets discrimination. Tell me, have you witnessed a child treated unfairly at school? What did you do? Sometimes the person with real power isn't the one in the office. It's the one brave enough to hit record. Moral lesson: the power of truth and the duty of the observer. This story teaches us two profound life skills that define a person's character and their impact on society. 1. Documentation is the shield of the disenfranchised. In a world where systems often protect their own, your word may not be enough. Julian knew that a he said, she said battle would be lost to Margaret's 15-year tenure. The life skill here is accountability through evidence. Whether it is in school, the workplace, or the community, do not just complain, document. Keep records, save emails, and when necessary, find a way to capture the truth. Truth, when supported by undeniable proof, becomes a force that no bureaucracy can ignore. 2. Silence is complicity. The most chilling part of Maya's story isn't just Margaret's cruelty. It is the 15 years of silence that preceded it. 8 families spoke up, but the people around them, teachers, co-workers, and administrators, chose the path of least resistance. They chose to not get involved. The moral: your character is not measured by how you treat your equals, but by how you react when you see the vulnerable being mistreated. A good person who remains silent in the face of injustice is merely a placeholder for the oppressor. As the story concludes, true power doesn't come from a title or a bank account. It comes from the courage to hit record and refuse to let a lie stand. Justice should never be a lottery. It should be a guarantee. But it only stays a guarantee if we are all willing to be its witnesses.